Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 1993 Mike Myers black comedy, So I Married an Axe Murderer, as directed by Thomas Schlamme. Anywho, this was Myers' next movie following his success with Wayne's World. I forgot he was in that. I keep thinking Austin Powers, but anywho. But this takes an entirely different direction altogether to that movie, being more of a romantic comedy with a dark twist rather than a satirical take on a specific theme, if you like. So, set in San Francisco, Myers plays Charlie Mackenzie, a popular poet in the local oversized coffee club scene with a quirky and offbeat style, monologuing his disastrous love life in a downbeat and desultory fashion. In fact, I was going to try and do this review in that kind of style, but it just didn't play out right. Anywho, afraid of commitment, he always finds fault with the woman that he dates and kiboshes the relationships through and through. His latest, accused of stealing his cat. But then he meets Harriet, as played by Nancy Travis, who owns a butcher's, who's sweet, sexy, adorable, and as bonkers as he is. Totally the girl next door. Totally smitten with each other right from the very start. They make the perfect couple, head over heels in love. Charlie even vows not to let his fears get the better of him this time around. That is, until Charlie reads in a gossip column about a black widow, Mrs. X, who is linked to a string of missing husbands, but whose identity remains a mystery. Strange coincidences start piling up, suggesting Harriet may have a dark secret and that she may be indeed Mrs. X, of course sending Charlie into meltdown. Alleviated of his fears by his best friend, Tony Gardino, as played by Anthony LaPaglia, a San Francisco detective who longs for more adventures in his work, Charlie asks Harriet to marry him, who reluctantly accepts. Needless to say that the wedding night doesn't actually go quite the way Charlie may have planned, as of course the title in the movie may suggest. So, for me, I absolutely loved this movie back in the day. I loved its romantic vibes and its dark, twisty finale, which offered one of the first movie twists that I actually think I'd kind of seen up to that point. But whilst I actually still had a really good time with this movie upon rewatching it for this review, I did kind of find it a lot less funny and a lot less coherent than I once remembered it to be. Until the final act, which once again didn't disappoint, even though I knew, of course, what was coming. I mean, the name of the film itself actually gives away the whole premise, so there aren't too many surprises, but the film kind of does play on this fact. We are, of course, kind of supposed to get the comedy knowing that something is amiss before Charlie does. The thing is, the comedy in this movie is a bit hit and miss, I found now, to be fair. Not all of it kind of gels like it should, and of course, knowing some of Myers' works to follow, there are certainly some parallels that can be drawn that feel so much more evident, really, when watching this movie now. Myers is indeed a great character actor. When he's playing his father, for instance, in the film Stuart, he is simply excellent. But when he's kind of playing Charlie, a more standard person, shall we say, than some of the other more flavoursome characters that he's kind of played in the past in his comedy career, I kind of found his brand of comedy this time around to be a bit more irritating than I thought I would, and indeed what I remembered. But when he stops kind of trying to force being funny, he actually is, and there are some excellent moments as the film kind of moves into its final act. Up to then, it does kind of feel a little laboured in places, However, his portrayal as Charlie's father, of course, kind of sows the seeds for his later movies, where he branches out into kind of multiple characters. Stuart is very reminiscent of Myers' portrayal of Shrek and Fat from the Austin Powers franchise, don't want to get demonetised, all played with a very broad kind of Scottish accent and a very belligerent attitude. So it's certainly kind of a curiosity piece, perhaps, indeed, to kind of see some of the origins of some of these other characters. And then kind of certainly the difference when he has more of a creative control. Although it was interesting just to see how much he kind of had recycled from his characters in this movie, into those later installments. But everybody does seem to be having great fun with the movie, which really does kind of shine through. And some of the chemistry between Myers and his co-stars are really what really make this still a fairly enjoyable experience. Myers and Travis are simply great together and exhibit a very believable romance, to be fair. They're just too cute, you know? And then between Myers and Brenda Fricker, who plays Charlie's mum, that has kind of very similar kind of affectionate feel, but one more of a seasoned relationship, shall we say. The film is quite decent, well, all told when all's said and done. Just nothing special or groundbreaking. And whilst you may not see everything coming, it really just kind of plods on until that final act, which is pretty much where the meat of the movie resides. And indeed where each of the characters kind of seem to come alive more than they had done throughout the movie. And where we kind of do get to see more of the side characters who then add a bit more of much needed flavour to the proceedings, you know? It also has a bit of a Tales from the Crypt vibe, I feel, towards the end. With its dark tone, it does kind of shift gear quite a bit, and it more than reminds me of that series. And I'll tell you why, especially because there is an episode in the show's first season entitled Lover, Come Hack to Me, which has an eerily similar plot to the movie, notwithstanding that the episode also stars Amanda Plummer, who actually plays Harriet's clingy and intrusive sister in the movie. So, spooky stuff. Overall, this is a fairly enjoyable watch. You know, it's a quirky little comedy with a decent enough dark edge to keep it kind of reasonably entertaining, you know, and gives it a different flavour. It's certainly a charming movie at times and certainly endearing, particularly with regards to the romance between Charlie and Harriet. And it does kind of move into a darker realm as we delve into its mystery. Its comedy can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, but it does redeem itself with some great characters and a fairly decent ending, which does help kind of seal the film's darker comedy element. It's just not as consistent for me as it could be, which resides it to being just simply a nice movie and a sightseeing tour of San Francisco. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. We have absolutely loved having here at SciFirst MovieTalk. We would definitely love to have you back. But most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.